Hello everyone, learn chemistry with Bookem. Today's topic is exothermic and endothermic reaction or processes, and we can also say energy in reactions. So before we go further, we are going to discuss the essential vocabulary, which is the essential point in this whole class. The first one is exothermic reaction. In an exothermic reaction, is a reaction that releases energy into the surrounding. That means it has energy, and the energy is released into the surroundings, usually as heat. So this energy is usually released as heat. Then for endothermic reaction is a reaction that absorbed energy. So energy is released for exothermic, but endothermic energy is absorbed from its surrounding, making the environment colder. It makes the Can we see the difference? It makes the environment colder. While exothermic reaction is usually it is released to the surrounding or the environment. Now we can't talk about endothermic and exothermic reaction without making mention of energy. Every chemical bond contains energy, and when reaction happen, so there's no chemical bond that doesn't contain energy. For example, the sodium chloride. The sodium chloride is a bond that is formed between metals and non-metals, and that is ionic bond. So for ionic bond, energy is required for that bond to be formed. So every chemical bond requires energy to be formed. For a reaction to be formed, that means there must be a formation of old bonds. There must be breaking of the old one and the formation of new one before a reaction can take place. Okay, now, have you ever imagined or wonder why a gas burner gets hotter when it burns? So why? Have you ever imagined why? But an instant cold pack gets freezing cold the moment you squeeze it. An instant cold pack gets freezing cold. A very cold pack gets cold when you squeeze it. So this is chemistry. So this is talking about endothermic and exothermic reaction. So the reason why a gas burner will get hot is because it will release energy, it release heat. So that is an exothermic reaction. But the cold pack, when you touch it, it feels cold. That's because it has absorbed energy from the surrounding, and that is why it feels cold. So let's go to the next slide. Now let's take it one after the other. We are going to start with an exothermic reaction, releasing energy. That means energy is being released, energy is being given out, energy is given off to the surrounding. In an exothermic reaction, the energy released from forming new bonds is greater than the energy needed to break the old ones. So for example, exothermic, and since it is being released to the surrounding, so the reactant matters a lot because it is released, and the major contact when it is released is the reactant. So the reactant is always higher than the product, that is the forming and the energy released from forming new bonds is greater than the energy to break the old ones. The temperature of the surrounding also increases. So for a substance or a body undergoes exothermic reaction, it increases the temperature of the surrounding because it is being released to the environment. So examples of exothermic reaction, we have combustion, which is burning. So when burning takes place, you can if you move close to fire, to a burning substance, you notice that you're going to feel the heat of the fire burning, or when it's in burning. So that has transferred heat from that fire to the person standing or the body close to it. So that is why when you put anything, like any material close to the fire, it is going to get burnt. That's because of the energy. It requires a large amount of energy for that fire to burn, and that energy is now releasing heat to the surrounding. So that is an example of exothermic reaction, the burning, which is also called combustion. Another example is a neutralization reaction. If you add an acid and a base in a beaker, you're going to feel the hotness at the back, or maybe like at the tip of the beaker. So it has been released to the surrounding. It has been released by the acid and base to give a neutralization reaction. So a neutralization reaction is another example of exothermic reaction. Let's take a look at this graph. So this graph is showing an exothermic reaction. This is showing that the reactants for exothermic reaction, the reactants will always be greater than the product form. So the reactant, since energy is being released to the environment, so the product does not matter. It is the reactant that it is higher. So the energy of the reactant is higher than the energy of the product. So this is the reaction process. So this is called an exothermic reaction.